Missing, lost, trafficked, investigations. I'm Pebbles,
Yo,
executive
you see
news
what I'm saying?
producer, creator,
Everything
and
should start
writer.
here in the airways about August 11th.
We're looking everywhere, in bushes, in ditches, in roads, everywhere. We've even gotten shot at looking.
Thing I can think about is my child's out there somewhere.
The mother's house, by the mother's house, is where they're protected.
Hard night tonight. I can't sleep. Had so many things going through my head.
Kada left her home on Rodney Street to head to her overnight nursing shift at the Terrace at Chestnut Hill. She made it there, but here's the thing. She left work early. Her car? Still sitting in the parking lot. Her phone completely dark. No calls, no social media, nada. Family says that before she disappeared, she told them someone had been harassing her by phone. And now, days later, there's no trace of her. Police say this is extremely concerning because Kada isn't the type to just disappear. Her mother is devastated. She said, "Please come home. I'm so scared. I love you." She also said she would never do anything like this. Kada is 5'6". She's 120 pounds. She has a slim build. She has brown eyes and black hair. She left her keys, iPad, iPhone, and Apple Watch, but none of it has pinged since that night. If you're in Philly, or if you know anybody in the area, share this, talk about this, get her face out there. Someone knows something. If you have any information, please call the Northwest detectives at 215-686-3353 because right now, a young woman's life may depend on us not staying quiet.
Kada Scott, who's a 23-year-old black female who stands 5'6", 120 pounds, reported her missing on 10/5/25. She was last seen by her mother the night before at approximately 9:50 p.m. when Miss Scott was leaving for work. We do know she did arrive at work. She works at a nearby nursing home. However, we knew that she left prior to her shift's completion. Detectives are currently canvassing the neighborhood for video. We're interviewing friends and family, and we're analyzing cell phone data. What's troubling about this case is, number one, you have a 23-year-old young lady who has completely disappeared. We have no cell phone activity or social media activity, and she's not reached out to family or friends. In the days prior to her disappearance, Ms. Scott related to family and friends that unknown individuals or person had been harassing her via phone. We're investigating that. We're trying to learn more. That being said, we want the public to take a really good look at Ms. Scott's photo. Any information, no matter how small, it would be of great use to detectives investigating this case. Any information can be forwarded to our tip line, or you can call Northwest Detectives directly at 215-686-3353.
When does her shift usually end, and how early did she leave?
We're not exactly sure the exact time she left. It was pretty soon after arriving. She worked a 10 p to 6 a shift, overnight shift.
In her social media, I'm not sure if you've been able to scrutinize it. Is there anything there, any like internal messages, anything that suggests that she's left for a reason?
Thus far, nothing like that's been located. However, we're doing a deep dive on all her social media as we speak, and those are things we're going to be looking at. Internal messages, posts, or things like that. But as of right now, then nothing.
At this time, do you believe she's in danger?
At this time, I mean, all I can say right now is that a 23-year-old girl has been seen in 4 days. There is that her explaining to family that she'd been harassed by an individual or individuals via phone. So we do have some concern, more so than usual. So again, we're just pleading for the public to take a really good look at Miss Scott's photo and let us know if you've seen her.
Did her coworkers report any strange behavior when she was working that night?
We did interview coworkers. There was nothing too extravagant in her statements. We're still in the process of doing that. So.
Do we know what the harassment was about? If it was somebody that she even knows?
We're still trying to get to the bottom of that. Again, we don't know who that person was. We do know that one. We don't know who it was, so we're trying to determine that. We're still in the process of doing interviews to see if we can figure out who the person doing this harassment was.
Did she arrive to work like via car? Is the car missing, or?
She arrived to work in her car. That car has been recovered by police, has been processed for evidence and analyzed.
So she didn't leave.
She did not leave in her car. That's correct.
Your car was at work?
Correct. It was located in the parking lot. The police did recover that, and then we did forensically process that vehicle.
Cameras on the building show any sort of how she got where she went then after?
Unfortunately, no. We're still in the process of canvassing the nearby neighborhood in hopes of gathering some video.
And her phone doesn't show like rideshare activity or?
On an initial inspection, no.
So that's the last time that you've seen she was seen.
The last time she's leaving, was at work by coworkers shortly after her arrival at 10 o'clock.
History of this?
No history of this.
You can't ping her cell phone to any location?
We have, but it's all historical. Her cell phone is currently off. So what data, we do have data that's being analyzed, where she was in the time up to her disappearance. But as of this moment, her phone is off.
Do you have a message to people who, I know the general public, but those who may have information but think it's not relevant or valuable? Maybe they know where she is, maybe they think nothing of it.
No matter what information you have, think of it as a possible piece to a large jigsaw puzzle. If there's 100 pieces to a puzzle, you may think your piece is insignificant. But without your piece, that jigsaw puzzle is not being solved. So I would plead with you, whatever information you have, reach out to the police. It's greatly appreciated.
going to the mall shopping. Used to always love the Disney Channel, Hannah Montana, stuff like that. Music videos, Rihanna, a favorite artist. So she always like dressing up. I believe this is day 13, so each day gets a little bit harder. You know, you try to stay positive. Don't let the negative thoughts creep in. Remain confident until I hear otherwise. I'm just gonna have to stay positive. It's hard, but I am. I'm gonna believe that she's okay until I hear otherwise. Press conference about the young man the other day. We heard that when everyone heard it.
Figure out where she is. Our evidence is pretty clear that she was in communication with an individual. That individual appears to meet her.
Hello everybody, this is State Representative Andre D. Carroll. I'm coming to you today asking for the community's help. We need your help more now than ever. It's been 2 weeks and we are looking for a 23-year-old Kada Scott. She's someone who's frequent to my district and the district next door to mine. But I met her this past summer when she was running for Miss Philadelphia. Today, they have officially charged a young man with the kidnapping and abduction of Kada Scott. If you've seen this vehicle or if you've seen this young lady, please call and say something. There is a tip line we can put down below us, or you can call my office, or you can stop past. Anything will help us get closer to resolving this case and reuniting Kada with her family will be greatly appreciated. I want to thank you for your support, and we pray for a safe return.
This is the stuff that I watch on TV, in crime shows, scripts. To see this happen to someone so close to me.
Priya is describing what goes through her mind when she thinks about her friend Kada Scott. The two met while attending Penn State University. She says losing Kada has been a nightmare she still cannot fully understand.
It hurts because I kept replaying this on my mind that she didn't even stand a chance. You can give her a week, you can give her a few days, you can give her anything. Everyone was so hopeful that we would find her, that she would be alive.
Just a few weeks ago, she tells us Scott was getting ready to be one of her bridesmaids. Priya sharing this video of Scott excited, trying on the dress she was going to wear.
She was the type of person that she said she was going to do it. She was going to do it. She followed through all the way. And that is just something that I'm really, really proud of her for.
On Tuesday, dozens of community members gathered once again to remember the 23-year-old woman whose life ended too soon. A prayer service was held, along with a balloon release, at the vacant Ada Lewis Middle School near where Scott's body was found.
Kada Scott will always be, to me and to us, the forever Miss Philadelphia.
Community members vowing to keep Scott's memory alive.
We're going to have a law called the Kada Scott Law, so that women, black women, all women who are going through domestic violence will know that we are with them.
Scott went missing on October 4th. Her body was found 2 weeks later. 21-year-old Keon King faces charges for kidnapping Scott and other related offenses. Police sources tell NBC 10 officials are looking at the possibility a second person may be involved. As the investigation continues, so does a push to demolish the abandoned property. For 2 days in a row, workers focused on clearing shrubs and debris at the school. Councilwoman Cindy Bass sent out a letter to the Philadelphia School District demanding leaders tear down the vacant building. The school district released a statement saying they are reviewing protocols for the former school. And out here, as you can see, Kada Scott's memorial continues to grow while we are waiting to hear back from officials her cause of death. In Germantown, Shaira Arias, NBC 10 News.
Keon King is charged with murder, arson, kidnapping, and other offenses related to the death of Kada Scott, whose body was found in Philadelphia in October of 2025. In addition, prosecutors have refiled charges against King in a separate kidnapping case from January of 2025. The charges in the Kada Scott case include murder. Those charges were upgraded after the medical examiner ruled Scott's death a homicide from a gunshot wound to the head. Arson for setting fire to the car allegedly used to transport Scott's body. Kidnapping and false imprisonment, abuse of a corpse related to finding Scott's body in a shallow grave, conspiracy, tampering with evidence, robbery, theft, unlawful use of an automobile, possessing an instrument of crime, and recklessly endangering another person. Before Keon King was charged with several crimes in connection with the homicide of Kada Scott, he was charged with other violent crimes. Other alleged crimes include a January 2025 kidnapping and strangulation of another woman. This domestic-related case was initially withdrawn when the alleged victim did not appear in court. Prosecutors have since refiled the charges. A protection from abuse order connected to a third woman has an active PFA against King until 2027. Lastly, a prior rape investigation. According to law enforcement sources, King was also a suspect in a prior rape case involving another woman. So why is it that King was in a position to come in contact with Kada Scott and fatally harm her, even though he had carried out violent crimes against other women? Why couldn't he have been held just a little longer?
Developments. They've officially identified her body. They have connected a suspect to her death. And what is so infuriating here is that this suspect has an extensive criminal history, a criminal history involving domestic violence, and even one specific case where the case was not handled correctly by the district attorney in the past, and you have to wonder if it was handled correctly, would Kada Scott be alive right now? These are questions that people in Philly are asking. In this episode, I'm going to talk to some of my sources on the ground and try to get to the bottom of mistakes that were made with the district attorney in Philadelphia and the latest on the Kada Scott case. All of that's coming up in this episode of Brian Ensign Investigates. Hey guys, so this Kada Scott story out of Philadelphia is just, first of all, it's just sad because this woman was a beautiful, young, smart woman, which I'll get into in a second. But it's also enraging when you look back at the justice system and the way it appears the justice system failed Kada Scott and her family. We can now confirm that remains found buried in a wooded area behind an abandoned school are those of Kada Scott. She was 23 years old. She had been missing for about 2 weeks in Philadelphia. Again, Kada, from everything that we can tell, was just a wonderful, wonderful woman. College educated, graduated from Penn State University in 2023 with a degree in communications. Extremely driven and ambitious. She was working in elder care, and she was also pursuing her dreams in beauty pageants. And the DNA tests have now confirmed her identity, that the remains found, it was a shallow grave, excuse me, are definitely hers. They are, the remains are Kada Scott. So the prosecutors confirmed that today. They are saying that an anonymous tip led police back to the area. They searched and they found the remains in a shallow grave. So the suspect, who is now behind bars, he is 21-year-old Keon King. Right now he's charged with kidnapping, stalking. There are some other charges, and prosecutors say more charges are in the works. They say that King and Scott had cell phone contact and that a stolen vehicle found on fire was used by King. His cell phone was in several locations related to her disappearance, and there is apparently, according to prosecutors, extensive video evidence in this case. That's the way that they describe it, extensive video evidence in the case. But this is the part that really gets your blood boiling and has a lot of people very upset in Philadelphia, because I've done a ton of stories in Philadelphia, the Ellen Greenberg case and some others on crime, so I've got some connections there, and people are just like fuming over this, and really all over the country, and rightly so. Family and friends had alerted police that that individuals had allegedly been harassing Scott on the phone in the days prior to her disappearance. And this is it. There is another kidnapping case that this suspect, King, was allegedly involved in earlier this year. He was accused of kidnapping and strangulation earlier this year. So he was on the police radar. He was arrested. There were charges. All of this before this happened to Kada Scott. So he was on their radar. And there was even this creepy video that reportedly shows King stalking the woman in the first case. You're going to see, this is from TikTok, and it's video reportedly of King outside this woman's house.
Call the cops. It's all these kids here. Call the cops. He's on.
So Fox reports that King has a protection from abuse order against him from a third woman, which is active until 2027. So there's yet another case apparently involving another woman who said this guy was dangerous enough to go out and get this court order. And law enforcement sources also told Fox that King was also a suspect in a prior rape case involving yet another woman. Okay? So the signs were there. And the criminal justice system failed this woman who is now killed. And this is what's enraging. The charges were dropped in the first case initially because the victim failed to appear in court, which they didn't have to drop the charges, okay? And the Philadelphia district attorney, his name is Larry Krasner, he has now admitted to the mistake. He had a press conference last week, and he had another press conference on Monday where he admitted to it and said that they should have used additional evidence in King's prior case to aid in King's previous case. Bottom line, he said that he should not have been let off so easily. And he was asked about that. And he was kind of defensive, I have to say, at this press conference. And then kind of just like ran off at the end and didn't answer any more questions. But this is what the DA said at the press conference on Monday. And you'll hear the reporter question first.
What can you do to ensure, or I guess ensure to the public, or there's probably a better word there, ensure the public that there's not another Kada Scott that's going to come out, that there's not going to be another kind of case like this where a case is withdrawn, it's violence against women, case withdrawn, bail was not, appealed immediately. It seems that you're putting the blame on the judges for that. How can you ensure that there's not going to be another Kada Scott?
And I know that question was a little bit hard to hear, so before you hear his answer, I'm just going to tell you, basically that reporter, she was asking, what can you do to ensure the public that there's not another Kada Scott that is going to come out, violence against a woman and a person basically let off? And now listen to what his answer was.
Actually, I think it was pretty clear that I wasn't putting the blame on the judges. I think I was pretty clear that I was blaming the existence of cash bail. And systemically, we all have to try to do better. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania should stop making money off of bail, and they should go to a system that is much more effective, one where truly dangerous people remain in custody, and that has worked for more than 3 decades in D.C., and that is about 12% of defendants, and where the rest of those defendants are not required to pay money because, for the most part, they face much less serious charges, and the only reason they're in jail is because they're broke. The bail system is broke. That should be fixed. That was not a criticism of individual judges. That was a criticism of that system. What I can tell you is that the buck stops here. We recognize that there are some things that could have been done better in this case. From the moment this occurred, we have been looking at ways that we can improve our systems, because we have to be open to systemic change as well, and we will have further announcements about that in the future.
So have you done any policy reviews or looked at anything? Anything specific that you can tell the public about that?
We are actively looking at ways that we can do better.
There's so much anger, Mark, about the Kada Scott case, about the suspect, Keon King. Explain to me, should he have been in jail already? What's the backstory there?
Yes. So this young man, he apparently there was issues starting back in high school. I know he went to Roman Catholic High School. He was, I don't know if removed, but he threatened a student or a faculty member with a knife. So the signs were there. He was arrested, as everybody now knows, back in December for a kidnapping case. If you watch Larry Krasner's press conference, it was his CYA press conference the other day, he talked about how they requested bail for $1 million minus $1. Now, it's important for people that don't understand Pennsylvania. The reason that is, if you go over $1 million for bail and it's granted, you're on the clock as the district attorney. The person has a certain amount of time that has to be tried, or he or she is released, what's out on pretrial services. So that's why they asked for $999,000. The problem with the Krasner's district attorneys is when they do this, they just ask for it. They don't give any reasons. They don't go into, look at this history, look at this video. They just, we want it that much money. Because what's going to happen is the bail commissioner is going to look at this person, any person, and they're going to say, that's a little high. You're not giving me a good reason. You're just asking for it. We're not going to do that. So that's, I wasn't in the courtroom. I would imagine that's exactly what happened. It happens all the time, every day. So that gives Krasner and his ADAs an out. We asked for $1 million minus $1. They said no. Pennsylvania judges are not allowed to respond to any criticism, any case whatsoever. So they can't even respond to defend themselves. This is an ongoing issue with this office. It's been going on for years. The world's just getting to see it now because of this beautiful young woman that was taken away, just preventable. To your question, yes, he should have been in jail. On the press conference, Krasner talks about the bail was dropped down to $200,000. And if you watch his press conference, he says the reason they don't appeal it, which this is the big problem here, this is where the lie is really festering. The reason they didn't appeal the $200,000 is because they didn't want to call a judge in the middle of the night, fearing if they did, asking for a higher bail than the $200,000 that was set on December 11th, that the judge would grant not a higher bail, but actually would lower it as a punishment for the district attorney calling them and waking them up. Now, I can tell you that is 1,000% a lie.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think about.
That they would punish the district attorney by letting a bad person out? I mean,
no, and it wouldn't happen. Now, I worked for the court, so that's where my job was. I was in the court warrant unit. I would call judges all the time in the middle of the night to get a warrant, address change, whatever. Sometimes, I was clueless when I was calling them because I didn't have all my facts, and they were all professional because they know that's their job. They have to answer that phone call for me, for anybody that calls that night. So for him to make that allegation is outrageous. Again, he's trying to push the blame away from himself. But here's the problem with that lie. The bail was set, it started at 12:44 in the afternoon on that day, and I believe it was finally put on paper at like 3:30 in the afternoon. So he just lied. He was making people sound like it was 3:30 in the morning and they didn't want to call a bail commissioner or call the emergency judge and have the bail increased. He lied again. And that's what he does. He lies, pushes blame on the judges, he'll blame everybody under the sun. Even, I'm sure Trump was even accused in this problem. And he just says, it's not me. And that's the problem here. This kid should have been in there on $500,000 to $700,000 bail and with restrictions, house arrest monitoring unit. But they didn't. It was just another case. This happens every single day, multiple times a day. They get the guy. They don't want to put him in jail forever because that's ultimately his issue here. He doesn't want to incarcerate everybody. And the kid comes from money too. So, they probably didn't want to fight his lawyer, who I'm not even going to say his name, but they have a personal relationship. So he probably was just like, you know what? That's his client. We're not going to bother. We're not going to pursue it. And now he's backtracking because, this young girl is, now gone because of him.
I think I read something about too, like the victim stopped cooperating or something like that. Did you see that?
So, and that's the other thing. He's blaming, the judges, the victim, the witnesses. So in Pennsylvania, what happens if I get arrested today and the lady across the street is the witness and I beat up her son. So she's the witness, son's the victim. What happens? We go to court, get bail. They give you a trial date or a preliminary hearing. We go there. They don't show up, which happens all the time, for whatever litany of reasons. And, the defense and the prosecutors, they make agreements. Hey, we'll postpone it till this day. We'll postpone it until this court hearing or until the next hearing. You can do that 3 times, both sides. But what doesn't happen, no matter what he says or his office says, what they do not do is go out and try to bring the witnesses in. Now, I've actually brought witnesses in, homicide witnesses, where I've gone to their home with, it's called a forthwith warrant, and forced them to go to court and testify. A lot of them don't do it out of fear, but this girl, from my sources, she was afraid that Krasner's office couldn't protect her, which they couldn't. And that's a reason why a lot of these people don't go. They're afraid I'm going to go down and I'm going to walk out of the courtroom with the guy. He's going to be in the same courtroom. He's out on bail. They let him out. They didn't increase his bail. So now he gets to walk out, follows the girl. And this happens every day in that system down there.
Yes, that each one of you, as you call out her name, that you would also remember her family.
We love you.
Fly
higher.
Look at my balloons in front. We just going on. Oh, that has been so
Do you believe your family member, friend, or even your child is in danger, may have been abducted, or even trafficked? Reach out to Missing, Lost, Traffic Investigations and share your story with us. Pebbles, Executive News Producer, signing out.